Yo, what's going on, guys? Matthew Haynes here, aka the Clockmaster, and today we're here to talk about Skeleton Crew Episode 4. Just like the last episode, this one was pretty amazing as well. I had some small criticisms, but overall, I really loved this episode. There was a lot to dive into this episode. I'm trying to rush this as quickly as I can. I can't analyze every single thing like I did in episode 1 and 2 as much as I want to, just because I want to catch up to episode 6 on the channel. But there was amazing references here. Last episode, we had some Old Republic mentions, and now we're getting deeper lore with the overall world of Skeleton Crew and what's going on with Star Wars and at Attin and everything else. So there's a lot to break down, so sit tight. Let's get into it.
You know what? Just shoot me.
So the episode begins with the kids returning to a planet that resembles At Achrann. Everyone's excited, everything looks familiar. But when they get down, they start to realize that this is not their home. This is not At Achrann. We find out from SM-33 through some malfunctions and something going on with the system that this planet is actually called At Achrann. Now, this is the first hint that this is one of the many planets that we found out in the last episode that has some connection to the Great Work, but everything is weird here. It doesn't look like it's habited by anyone. No one lives here. Something definitely went on here. So the kids actually go off to explore, and they actually encounter this person by the name of Hayna, and she belongs to a group of people called the Troic. So we found out that there's two people here, two factions that live here, at least for now, from what we understand, the Troic and the Attin. Now they're getting ambushed by the Attin here in this scene, and Hayna decides, look, I'm going to save the kids. I'm going to bring them back to camp. There seems to be some type of conflict in general going on. We don't know if there's more than one faction here, because it just seems that everyone just greets, when they find a stranger, they say, which flag do you fly? So I don't know if they're talking about the one of the two factions. It could just be two factions. It could be multiple factions. We don't know. But for me, it was actually pretty interesting just to see everything on this planet, how we have this establishment here. Again, an environment that looked like a rundown version of At Achrann. Everything pretty much looks the same, but it's been abandoned, and we don't know for how long. But there seems to be these factions here and these settlements, and they have their own little thing going on here. It's reminded me of this is like a post-apocalyptic type of scenario. This is a planet who doesn't know anything about what's going on anywhere else except for here. This is like maybe like the end of times for this planet's history. So we don't know if this was like one of the first planets that experienced this scenario. Maybe At Achrann was one of the last and newer planets to go for this to happen to, but this might have been the first one, and it's maybe been going on like this for hundreds of years. We don't know. So once the kids actually get back to this establishment, like this settlement, we meet Hayna's father, who seems to be the leader of these people, and he basically tells the kids that we treat our kids like adults. Like, you're gonna train, you're gonna learn how to fight, you're gonna learn how to do all this stuff. The kids are obviously scared. They have no idea who this guy is. They don't know what's gonna happen to them, but they're basically told, like, hey, yeah, like, you guys gotta learn how to fight. Like, you guys are gonna get put on the front line. Like, yeah, like, this is what we do here. It's pretty normal. And there's no shock to this. I mean, Hayna seems to be like a very hardened type of individual, a very hardened child. Like, this is not a planet that is happy. They're in constant warfare. They're in constant fighting, bickerings, fighting for survival. No one here is having a good time here. And Hayna being a product of this war, a child during this entire war, it's unfair to her. It's unfair to this environment, unfair to the people here. But that's her reality and what she's living in. So skipping further in the episode, Hayna decides to take Neil around and show him a little bit of the stuff, show him a pretty cool weapon. He gets to see this environment, and he got a really big shock about the life that he's living. He came from a very privileged life, very happy, everything's stable, everything's clean, and he's getting to see a shock as to these people's reality. And it helps him visualize like what's the privilege that he actually came from. One of the things that I really loved in this sequence here between Neil and Hayna was that he was just authentically being himself and just talking, and Hayna's just like, who the heck is this guy? Like, he's so goofy, right? And like, Neil is so adorable. Like, he's such a cute kid. They're just talking, and like, he's just so pure and kind-hearted, and he's just talking about this and like, oh, there was no war, we would be doing this, and I would choose peace, and I would do that. And Hayna's just loving it, and they're just having this really adorable, cute, innocent moment between two people that are just authentically just seeing each other who they are. And that's just the thing about connections. They're just so amazing. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but it's just, I really love how cool their connection was. I don't know, I just really love this adorable sequence between the two of them. It was just so cute, guys. It was so cute and so adorable. I loved it. It was awesome. So fast forward some more, the kids are told that they have to go in the front line to help recover these beasts that were on the planet that is a big resource and a big bargaining chip for the Troic. They weren't expecting to go in the front line, but it's like, come on, like they just thrown them there. Clearly they were being thrown in as pawns because Hayna's father doesn't want to lose any more of his own men, his own people. So obviously the kids are being thrown into this situation, obviously to just be used as fodder. Hayna is obviously taking a liking to Neil in some type of way, whether it's just a friend or whatever it is. She likes the guy, okay? And she doesn't want him, she feels for him. She doesn't want him to have to deal with this by himself. So she volunteers herself to go with him and go with them towards the front line. He doesn't want to just send, so that her father's just like, okay, go for it, whatever, do it. And poor Neil is struggling, like he doesn't want to, like, why y'all trying to do this to my guy, man? He don't deserve this, man. Like don't do this to Neil, please. So he's going through the front. He's so terrified, he's afraid, he's scared. Oh man, I felt so bad for them here during the sequence. But again, it's just more and more of this reality that's hitting them, that this world is not what you think it is. It's not as happy as you think it is. It's not what you want it to be. It's not, it sucks. It's horrible. Thankfully, they actually didn't have to fight, and we see Jod, Crimson, Jack, Silvo walk through the fog and says, yeah, this is what you guys are looking for? Yeah, like I don't know, like I made a deal with these other guys and they just gave them away for free. Well, not for free, but he just gave them away. And yeah, here you go, no fighting for you guys. So it appears as though, you know, he's here to save the day and everything's good. The kids don't have to fight. Really, really nice. Obviously, we know how he was able to do this. He stole their credits and was able to trade them. So he didn't do it from the kindness of his heart in a way. It's a means to an end. So earlier in the episode, actually, a fallen sanctum was mentioned, and they said they'd be able to take them there if they showed some bravery of some sort. So Hayna decides to take them and says, this is the furthest I can go. Neil recognizes the building and says, that's a supervisor's tower. That's a supervisor's building. Again, another reference that this place is exactly set up the same way that At Achrann is set up. So what happened here? You know, so many questions, guys. Before they go on, Neil and Hayna have another cute, adorable moment. Oh, I felt so happy for Neil. They're so cute. They're like little cute friends. They're so nice. Their connection was so nice. I love to see it. It was just so adorable, guys. I really loved it. It was so cute. But, you know, it gave Neil a confidence boost. It's like, you know what, maybe I should be thinking more about, you know, some more kind things about myself. Maybe I shouldn't be so hard on myself. You know, maybe I should believe in myself more, because obviously earlier in the conversation, she mentioned that, you know, maybe you come from a tribe of weak people. And then she was like, no, you know, I'm realizing now that you're not actually weak, you know, like you're not a weak person. And maybe, you know, Neil starts to see himself differently. And I really love this altogether. Really, really good messages and really, really awesome development for Neil. Now, the biggest moment of this episode was when they actually went into this chamber and they start to see these coordinates and they're reading all these names. They all these other planets that have the word at in front of them. So we're seeing that there's all these other planets and they have the coordinates, but at Attin, the coordinates for that was crossed out. And then we get this crazy sequence at the end where SM33, his memory completely gets like back together. And we found out that the previous captain who was involved, basically, he said, yeah, I'm the one that crossed it out. You know, I'm the one that did this. I'm the one, we were here. I was here. And they were like, how were you here? How did you do this? You know, and then we found out that his captain, they were there and basically said that we to destroy anybody that tries to find the hidden treasure. And then he activates like evil mode and he's like trying to attack the kids. It was horrible. Neil, you know, Neil has this really great brave moment and throws this rock at his head. It didn't do much, but it was able to distract him and save the kids in a way. And then Jod, Crimson, Jack, Silva went over and took off, you know, the power, and that was that. But it was such a crazy episode. We found out that there was so much going on here, and it was much bigger. Like, why does the top of the supervisor's tower have all these coordinates with all these planets? Very, very suspicious. Lots of questions. So key things to really think about from this episode, guys. One little Easter egg or one little drop that I noticed in the episode was they mentioned this headless statue, and they figured that it might be, you know, at least I figured it might be the supervisor some way. We don't see the statue, we don't see the person on the head, but we don't know. But based on the outfit, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe this could be Grand Admiral Thrawn. This could be something connected to Thrawn. Maybe the Great Work has something to do with Thrawn coming back and establishing the First Order. I could be reaching, I could be doing stuff. But again, they've been really bringing Thrawn in, and the Thrawn movie is something that is going to be happening, and the Mandalorian movie and all these things, these are things that are going to be happening within Star Wars very soon. So they have to try to establish Thrawn and his character. They started doing this in the Mandalorian, and obviously in Ahsoka we got big references for Grand Admiral Thrawn, obviously seeing him several times, and also just everything with the witches and the whole thing. So it's very possible that the statue could be Thrawn. I don't know. I could be reaching, y'all. I could be reaching, but you never know. One thing about the planets being interconnected in the way that they're laid out, it kind of reminded me of the Fallout series on Prime Video, and just not just the series, it's the game in general, like the Fallout game, the Fallout series from Bethesda. It just reminded me of the Fallout bunkers and the Fallout shelters, how there were so many different like experiments going on, and then there were some shelters that were, or Fallout, bunkers that were like, stable and fine, where others were, there was crazy stuff happening, and then some that were abandoned, and some that were replaced and fixed, like nothing ever happened. And then there was this like one person who was, working and connecting and controlling all of these things and assigning people to different spots and all these things. It kind of reminded me of that a little bit. Now for character development, I touched on Neil a little bit. Like I loved, again, his bravery and growth was shown throughout this episode a lot. He was stepping out of his comfort zone and embracing different challenges and confronting people where he would more or less like to be peaceful. Up until this point, Neil wanted nothing to do with confrontation. He wanted nothing to do with, getting involved in this. He just wanted to be in his comfort zone, in his safe space. But we got to see in this episode that he was willing to step out of those boundaries to get to some place and help and save his friends. I also really loved a little bit of hearing a lot about Hayna's story and the planet and her circumstances and what they've had to do to survive. And maybe, she says meeting Neil might help her get a different perspective on when she becomes leader, how she can handle things and how she can possibly like change the tide for her, her planet and her people, and maybe do things more with peace instead of fighting. And throughout this episode, another thing that was really big, especially towards the end, was we got to see the first sign of Fern's vulnerability. Like they start to emerge, and it was a reminder to us and to the audience that she is still a child. She's still young. She's still growing and trying to figure things out. So even though she was pretty strong and intelligent leading up to this point, this was the sequence and the part here that reminded us that she's just like anybody else. She's just like these other kids. She was putting on a brave face. She was trying to be strong. She was trying to be a leader, and everyone has a breaking point, and this was her breaking point. So it was really interesting and really cool to see the humanity and how real her character was in this moment. Because again, I'm like going this whole time not crying, not being, not showing any signs of fear. And she was even saying that maybe Wim should have been the leader, and Wim was just like, no, like I couldn't do any of this. And then Fern's like, I don't know what I'm doing. So this is a really big moment in the episode for her and her development as well, realizing and accepting that, there's more to this that she doesn't know, and she's just trying her best to just kind of chug along and string these people together as best as she can. Overall, guys, I really enjoyed this episode. I felt the pacing was a little weird. It could have been a little bit longer, a little bit more deeper, but again, that was not the point of this episode. The point of this episode was to establish more of the mystery behind these At planets and what they mean and how it ties to the Old Republic, how it ties to all of these things, who's in charge, what's going on. We have no idea. So overall, guys, this episode was pretty good. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Really enjoyed it overall. Really enjoyed some of the character moments and the development as well with the story. So I cannot wait to talk about episode 5 in the next video. I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Clockmaster.